Thank you both. Well, complicating efforts in the eyes of many to free the hostages are the Prime Minister's legal issues. Already testifying regularly in his corruption trial, Benjamin Netanyahu was today questioned by police in the so-called Qatar Gate affair. Our Lynn Plachmeyer has the story.
Two top aides to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu were arrested Monday morning as suspects in the so-called Qatar Gate. Jonathan Ulrich and Eli Feldstein are accused of having links to Qatar via an international firm contracted by Doha to feed Israeli journalists pro-Qatari stories. Earlier this month, police questioned both Feldstein and Ulrich on suspicion of contacting a foreign agent, fraud, money laundering and bribery. Netanyahu was questioned by police in the case regarding the alleged unlawful financial ties between his senior staffers and Qatar. But Netanyahu is not treated as a suspect in the case, but rather as someone with knowledge of the affair. The investigation focuses specifically on alleged Qatari payments to Netanyahu's close circle between May 2022 and October 2024. The investigation was under the orders of Shin Bet chief Ronen Bar, who Netanyahu is currently trying to fire. Netanyahu's Likud party has come out with a statement accusing the Attorney General's office and Shin Bet chief Ronen Bar of, quote, conducting futile investigations in the dark under a gag order in an attempt to prevent the dismissal of the Shin Bet chief, using Ulrich and others as cannon fodder. The statement continues saying, their goal is to carry out a coup d'etat through arrest warrants. This is not an investigation. This is not law enforcement. This is an attempted assassination of democracy and an attempt to replace the will of the people with the rule of bureaucrats. Opposition leader Yair Lapid says this statement does not deny that Ulrich and Feldstein received money from Doha. Another political rival, Avigdor Lieberman, accuses Netanyahu of trying to divert public attention away from Qatargate by firing the Shin Bet chief.
And in another confrontation with Israel's legal establishment, the Prime Minister has nominated former Navy Commander Vice Admiral Eli Sharvit as the next head of the Shin Bet National Security Agency. Sharvit's appointment has upset Israelis on both the left and the right. And the courts are still trying to block Netanyahu's decision to fire Ronen Bar in the first place. More in this report.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has selected former Navy Commander Vice Admiral Eli Sharvit to be the next head of Israel's National Security Agency, Shin Bet. Sharvit is set to replace Ronen Bar, who was dismissed by the cabinet earlier this month but remains in his post while the High Court reviews petitions challenging his removal. Netanyahu has said he lost confidence in Bar, but the opposition and Attorney General claim that Bar's ousting is linked to an ongoing Shin Bet investigation into alleged ties between Netanyahu's senior aides and Qatar, which supports Hamas. Netanyahu conducted interviews with 7 candidates before settling on Sharvit, whose candidacy is now subject to review by the vetting committee before being finalized by the cabinet. The Prime Minister's office highlighted that Sharvit served in the IDF for 36 years, including 5 years as commander of the Israel Navy. In that position, he led the force building the maritime defense of the territorial waters and conducted complex operations against Hamas, Hezbollah, and Iran. Earlier this month, Sharvit was appointed by IDF Chief of Staff Eyal Zamir to join a panel of former officers tasked with evaluating investigations into the military's response to the October 7th attack. While Sharvit has a distinguished military career, it's reported that he does not speak Arabic and has not been involved in Palestinian affairs. Earlier this year, as CEO of Elgri Eco Energy, he criticized U.S. President Donald Trump's climate policies, saying Trump's short-sightedness sends a shocking message to the world of disregard for scientific reality, the well-being of humanity, and responsibility to future generations. Opposition leaders have expressed cautious optimism about Sharvit's appointment, acknowledging his military leadership, but stressing that he must prove his loyalty to the law and the state, not just to the Prime Minister. Sharvit also reportedly participated in protests against the government's judicial overhaul plans in 2023, further raising concerns about his political views. Now, under pressure from coalition members, Netanyahu is reportedly reconsidering his choice of Sharvit for Shin Bet head.
So a lot to unpack there, Gidi Greenstein, but Netanyahu's fight with the judiciary is pretty much what is making the headlines around the world right now.
So basically, we have to remember that October 7 is what is called a strategic or fundamental surprise. We know, everybody that understands anything about fundamental surprises knows that fundamental surprises incubate in the interface between the military leadership and the political leadership. A fundamental strategic surprise is never about overlooking of not hearing some sort of a secret correspondent on the other side. It incubates over time, and that's why Netanyahu is fighting to the end to prevent a National Inquiry Commission, because he knows that what happened in 1973, where the Inquiry Commission was focused on the military, that will not fly today. Fast forward to Qatar. Qatar's strategy, we had known all along, it's its strength and its problematics in terms of Israel, is that it's focused and it's based on the concept of frenemy. It's a friend and an enemy of all of the countries around it. It's a small nation surrounded by Saudi Arabia on one side, Iran on the other side, and they have to balance. This is their strength in terms from our perspective. And Qatar was treated by the Netanyahu administration, and not just by the Netanyahu administration, as an intimate ally for many, many years. So you could understand why people around Netanyahu may have had the wrong signals in terms of what they can do with Qatar and get away with, which is what is happening today.
All right, thanks, Gidi. And I should say that the Prime Minister and his circle deny all of the allegations. The case is still ongoing, Yaakov, but I mean, Qatar isn't officially an enemy state of Israel, is it, bizarrely?
Not officially, but look, first of all, Qatar is an immensely problematic player. And if we zoom out for a second, we can see that its influence and cash, bought influence is absolutely global, from U.S. higher education to the location of the largest American airbase in the Middle East. And if you look at the relationship between Qatar and its genuinely moderate Sunni Arab countries, it's not one of friendliness. There was an attempt to put Qatar in its place by Saudi Arabia and its allies, which was unsuccessful. And that's because the leadership of Qatar follows and is absolutely attached to an Islamist pro-Hamas ideology. The new Qatari defense minister, who recently had to, according to memory, delete some social media posts in which he was saying, Jerusalem awaken, the memory of Al-Qassam lives on, and we are all Hamas. So this is what the Qatari authorities have in their heart. And then, they get to play firefighters after being pyromaniacs, and they get away with it globally, not just regionally. Here in Israel, we don't have the privilege. I understand why there is a desire to try and use Qatar's contacts with Hamas to get hostages out. That's a humanitarian issue, and I understand why, but we have to be very, very careful when we're dealing with this country.
Yaakov, thank you very much indeed. Gidi Greenstein, thank you to you as well for coming to the studio.